Yeah, I would say the South is queer as hell and always has been, and everywhere always has been. I first heard about Invisible Histories Project through Instagram because there was an amazing video of Wanda, a lesbian from Coleman who had a marble hat on and was speaking very frankly about her experience in rural Alabama as a queer woman. And it was just like, I didn't know that this existed. You know, like I didn't know that there would be a record of queer life that was before me in Alabama. And it was just like, it sort of hit me over the head that, you know, I inherited this history.
I am from the state of Alabama, but I moved back in 2017 to work at an arts nonprofit. And in that first year or two, there was a conference at UA that was about archives, and a person I knew had come to Tuscaloosa for that presentation and had seen Josh Burford. Who's Josh Berlin?
I don't know her.
Josh Burford speak, and was like, you should look this guy up. You know, his area of research is really interesting. The project itself is super interesting. It seems very aligned with like what you want to do more broadly in the arts ecosystem in the state. And I did have a background in like preservation related to video, like videotape, magnetic videotape. So on the one hand, with the preservation stuff I did before around video, the hardware to even play those things is disappearing. And I understand the importance of like actively and consciously preserving that, digitizing that work and preserving that work, because it will like literally be lost. But then the history of like collecting and these like, you know, extraction and like those objects being rooted in truth or holding truth. Like I like destabilizing that relationship and I, you know, like something being nonfiction versus fiction. I like a very blurry relationship to those, especially in the service of like creative imagining.
There's a sort of a gatekeeper mentality to archives that queerness kind of interrupts, because I think like part of my entrance into this exhibit was thinking about how it was impossible to archive the way I felt about family objects and my queerness in relation to them, because it has to do with like unlocking queer imagination on objects and how do you archive something like that. You know, my grandmother's TV, where my Uncle John and I would watch Tu Wong Fu while we wrapped Christmas presents. And it's like where I came out to him, and he's also a queer person and a drag performer. And, you know, and I had made this film called Socks on Fire. It was about my nanny's legacy, my grandmother's legacy, and my homophobic aunt trying to sort of take it away from me and Uncle John. And so I kind of was emboldened by that movie to sort of think about my grandmother's things as queer objects because of what they meant to me.
In deciding what gets included, I like things, making irreverent choices. And I think with this project, it was less about like including the most respectable and notable day in queer Alabama history, and instead kind of like ridiculous and campy, but also like tender and kind. And those are like guiding principles for my process.
The sermons from Marge Ragona were like, they sort of like hit us both over the head because of our like religious roots. And I just thought, I think we saw a way to have fun with those. And they inspired us, but they also were like this occasion for us to get drag queens together and perform them and have a good time. And it puts the irreverence in the reverence that Marge Ragona has for the scriptures and like her love of queer people and queer community and queer organizing. And I think that it really, what we did was like really highlight the joy of it and the fun of it. It's like a new way of getting to know a speech, which is like something that would be in a box, you know, which is, it makes it alive, which is queer power.
I read somewhere that the world is afraid of risk takers, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. I think that's a fair description of the gay community. It's who we are. Stop trying to paint the old piano. Take a risk and find a new energy, new joy, a new peace, new everything. I know. I've been there. Amen.
Even now, there's not exhibitions like this. There's not an excess of exhibitions that are, I think there's some things that are a little moralizing, you know, which sometimes isn't fun when you're young or at any age. And then there's some things that may feel inaccessible or geographically aren't here, or any multitude of things. So like definitely queer folks and young queer folks in particular. People were really kind of intrigued when I saw them here, and that was exciting. That was like super exciting. It affected me profoundly when thinking about audience, because I didn't think the audience could be as expansive as it turned out to be. It was nice.
Yeah. I feel a calling to hold up the South to Southerners who aren't queer or who aren't different, white Southerners of a certain age especially, to show that like actually this is the place you live in, and this is something to celebrate and something to learn from and be a part of. And I did it for me. I did it for Jackie. Like I did it, 100% whenever I'm putting on any kind of show, exhibition, performance, film, like I'm like, what would I want to see, and how do I not bore people, and how do I make it engaging, and how do I make it rhinestone encrusted, how do I make it illuminary and illuminated.